we live in a very noisy world, and it's hard to stand out. Even if you're doing great work, even if you're doing your best work, chances are maybe you're buried and no one's finding you. So I needed to find a solution to this. And one of the answers, I think, is this idea of momentum. If you're stuck, if you've leveled out and you're just not moving ahead, how do we build momentum?
Hi, I'm Nishant Garg with WhatMarketWants. My guest for today is a world-renowned marketing expert. His list of clients includes brands like Adidas, AT&T, Dell, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, Verizon, and many more. He's a highly rated keynote speaker, blogger, and a podcaster. He's a faculty member at Rutgers University. He's the author of several best-selling marketing books that includes The Marketing Rebellion and The Content Code. He has been featured by several media outlets like BBC, CNN, CBS, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. And today, he is here with us at What Market Wants. Let's welcome Mark Schaefer. Hi.
Nishant, I'm so delighted to be here. This is an episode months in the making.
So Mark, tell me, from learning from one of the best in the industry, Peter Drucker, to becoming one of the best in the industry, how's your journey been?
Well, it's very humbling. When I started out, I had no vision. I had no plan that I would be popular around the world and talking to amazing people like you in India. And by the way, I have many, many friends and fans in India. In fact, on my blog, I have more readers in India than any other country in the world except America.
Ooh,
And
wow.
yeah, that's true. It's true. And also many, many fans of my podcast, The Marketing Companion, and my books. So I'm just really happy to connect with you and so many wonderful people in India. So I never imagined, really, it wasn't a plan that I would have sort of this global reach, but I think it's a testament to just creating good work, providing good value, and being consistent, right? I mean, I've been blogging, I've been blogging every week since 2009. I went a streak of blogging 650 weeks in a row. I've had a podcast for 9 years, never missed an episode. And so, if you have that sort of value and create that kind of consistency, you earn a place in people's hearts eventually. And I've been so fortunate to do that.
That's amazing. So tell me, how do you think marketing has evolved in the last decade?
Oh, it's just breathtaking, and what an amazing thing to see. If you're a marketing geek like me, and I know you are too, Nishant, there's no more fun time to be alive. So I think the biggest evolution, number one, is I think everything that comes with the power shift that occurs when people like you and I can create content and have a voice in the world. So the traditional power structure of the world has shifted from Wall Street and big advertising agencies and media companies to us now. And that shows up in a lot of ways, right? It shows up in you and me being able to create content, being able to have a voice, being able to have influence in our world. And guess what? As the world sees fewer and fewer ads, our voices become more and more important. What's the other implication of this? We're able to, have a global reach. This would have been impossible for me 25 years ago, right? It would be impossible for you and me to even connect and have a conversation like this. We're able to monetize. We're able to create our own companies, create our own brands. Now, the evolution that I think we're seeing now, a lot of it is being driven by the pandemic. I don't think it's too bold to say that the pandemic has accelerated trends by at least 5 years, maybe even 10, especially when it comes to e-commerce. I know you've seen this in India as well. So much purchasing that we would go to a store, or we would, go shopping. We just have to do it online. And that is a trend that is very likely to stay around. It has made influencers even more important in this era, especially because a lot of advertising production was suspended. You can't make ads. You can't have these shoots during the pandemic, right? And we're seeing trends like live commerce start to begin. This combines influencers, live streaming, impulse buying. This is something that started in China last year. It's now spreading around the world. It's going to be a mega trend in the years to come. I think the next evolution is going to be some combination of this, of the live streaming and influencers and communities and crypto. I think that's going to have a big impact, not just on individual brands, but on big brands. We see companies like Disney and Coca-Cola, big global brands, starting to have their own crypto coins that they'll be able to use to reward their best customers. Very interesting new implications for marketing, loyalty, and reward systems. So it's just an incredibly exciting time to be in marketing.
Wow. So tell me, what are the most common myths and misconceptions around marketing, according to you?
Well, this is very present in my mind these days. The other night, I met a new friend and explained that I'm in marketing. And he said, "Oh, you're one of those people who are trying to sell me things I don't need." And so I think, I hate that, because marketing generally has a bad reputation, but we've done it to ourselves because we've had a lot of practices that annoy people, that interrupt people, that take advantage of their privacy and their personal information. And so in many respects, we deserve the reputation that we have earned. But I'm fighting for something different, right? I mean, my whole theme is a more human-centered approach to marketing. You mentioned, one of my books, Marketing Rebellion. The subtitle is "The Most Human Company Wins." I truly believe that with all of my mind, with all of my heart. And I think if we take that approach, instead of trying to manipulate people, if we say, let's respect our customers. They have the accumulated knowledge of the human race in the palm of their hands. They can make really good, informed decisions. Instead of trying to manipulate them, let's come alongside them at their point of need and be of service to them. If we can do that, take a more human-centered approach to marketing, we'll have a much better reputation in the long term.
When you try and replace marketing with manipulation, it does not work in the long run. So tell me, according to a lot of stats, 90% of startups fail. Why do you think that's the case?
That's a very easy answer because, well, it's not an easy answer because there are different problems. I mean, I think, timing is a big problem, but in my experience, and I've worked, with a lot of startups over many years, one common problem that they have is they consider marketing an afterthought. They are excited about their product. They're excited about their service. They think, oh, this is so intuitive. Everyone is just going to love this so much, it's going to sell itself. And they think, oh, we'll get to the marketing later. Marketing can't be hard. I'll read a blog post and figure out how to do it myself later. Marketing has to be baked into your business plan from the very beginning. You have to be in tune with customer needs, customer wants, customer behaviors. How are you going to reach them? How are you going to be seen and heard and discovered in this very noisy world? That's what marketing is about. And you need to consider that right at the very beginning of your business and get the right resources in place to carry that forward for you.
So, when it comes to brand building and marketing, what do you think most companies do wrong? What are the most common mistakes they make?
One of the big mistakes I see is that they think it's all about them. So I wrote a blog post recently that I guess some people thought it was controversial. I thought it was common sense. There's a very famous narrative in marketing now about start with your why. And there is some usefulness about figuring out why are we in business? Who are we here to serve? What do we believe in? That's very, very useful to do. But when it comes to marketing, nobody really cares about your why. They care about their why. They care about, I need you to solve a problem for me today. I'm hungry. I'm cold. I am looking for a place to take my date. I need to buy transportation that's affordable and reliable. I need to make a repair on my house. I don't care where you stand about the environment today or whatever. I just need to have this problem solved right now. Now, there is a place for purpose. There is a place for what you stand for. Absolutely. But if you think about most of the products you buy in your life, like, food, or you get your car washed, or you give a gift to someone for a holiday or a birthday, or you see a little plant and you said, that would be cute in my home. I want to have that plant in my home. 99% of the products we buy, we don't know where they stand. We haven't read their blog. We haven't seen any branded content. We haven't done an investigation into their stands on political issues, and we don't care. We're just hungry or we're just cold and we want to solve our problem right away. And I think, the marketers generally flock to whatever is popular until they ruin it. And one of the things they're ruining today is this idea of purpose. And there's a lot of just really sort of self-importance going on around, we're all about meaning and we're all about purpose. And there is a place for that. Absolutely, there is. But let's not overlook why people really buy things. And let's stick to some of the foundations of marketing that have always worked real well, like creating new products, pricing it well, distributing it in an efficient manner, promoting it in a way that appeals to customers to serve their needs. Those things all still work well. And then, if you can execute on those things, then maybe you look at purpose.
I was hungry for such bold and controversial content. So what you're saying is the company's why does have a place, it does matter, but it comes later in the narrative.
Yeah, I think we need to really focus on the customer's why. I mean, when I consult with people and they say, well, I'm starting a new website, I said, well, look, if you do your marketing well, you're going to try to bring people to your website so they'll find out more about you. And when I come to your website, here's what I want to see right away. In the first sentence, I want to see, this is the problem I solve for you.
Yeah.
And the next sentence is, this is how I uniquely solve it. I don't care about, what you're doing for local charities. That might be important down the road. Maybe I'm comparing you to somebody else, and maybe that will make me feel good about my decision. But right now, I want to know, What is the problem you solve for me? And how do you do it better than anybody? I want to know that right away.
So, what are the most important elements of a marketing strategy, according to you?
Well, the most important thing that unfortunately a lot of people miss these days is really research. I think when a lot of people, especially young people, think about marketing, they immediately turn to the creative. They think about posting things on social media. Let's start a YouTube channel or something like that. But it really takes a lot of research to figure out how can we maneuver. Great marketing is not about conformity. It's not about doing what everybody else is doing. Great marketing is about nonconformity. So you have to figure out some angle, some tone, some place, some space that you can own in a unique way and that you can explain in a meaningful way to your customers. And that takes work. It takes research on your competitors. It takes research on your customers. It takes research on what is the content out there. Where are the open spaces that we might be able to create something new? If you're a leader in the space, good news. It's wide open. If you're a disruptor, you might have fewer options, but the way you approach the market might be part of your disruption. So it really starts with research and figuring out how to approach marketing in a nonconformist way. We just can't, if you do what everybody else is doing, it's going to be bland. No one's going to pay attention to you.
So tell me, how do you build momentum for your business when all odds are against you?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it because I just spent the last 2 years figuring out the answer to that. That's why I wrote my new book, Cumulative Advantage. And the reason momentum is important, Nishant, is because we, as you know from your work, we live in a very noisy world, and it's hard to stand out. Even if you're doing great work, even if you're doing your best work, chances are maybe you're buried and no one's finding you. So I needed to find a solution to this. And one of the answers, I think, is this idea of momentum. If you're stuck, if you've leveled out and you're just not moving ahead, how do we build momentum? And this led me to more than a year of research and another year of writing that created this book, Cumulative Advantage. And what I was able to do is apply a lot of good research and principles that have been in academia, that have been in the field of sociology, that have been in science and psychology for many, many years, but it really hasn't been applied to real people, real problems and businesses. And what I discovered is that there is a pattern to momentum. And really there's kind of 5 phases to it. But the first 2 that I think are most important is this idea of assessing what are your advantages in the world. It could be some skill that you have. It could be an idea. It could be your perspective. It could be connections that you have. It could be some special education. Maybe you have money in the bank that you can invest in a certain way. So you look at all the different things that, your skills and your heritage and your ideas, and then you consider, how do I apply this to something in the world that's relevant today? I call this finding the seam. So a seam is a fracture in the status quo. It's something that's shifted. It's something that's changing. So you say, hey, I'm good at this, or I can solve this problem. Oh my gosh, look what's happening in this pandemic. I can solve that problem. So it's constantly being aware of this is what I'm good at, and then going through that seam and solving that problem as boldly as you can, as quickly as you can, owning that seam. And that is really the start of momentum and business opportunity.
So, do you have any examples of brands that you think are doing that well?
Oh, almost every brand. If you look at the best managed companies, if you look at the best managed companies usually also have the best marketing. The best managed companies tend to do everything well. So one of my favorite brands is Adidas, or we say Adidas here, or Adidas in other parts of the world. Yeah. And I was talking to a brand manager at Adidas, and he said the pandemic redefined sport. We had leagues cancel. We had leagues playing in front of empty stadiums. Here in America, one of our oldest games and most beloved games, baseball, changed its rules to accommodate the pandemic. On an individual basis, people couldn't go to health clubs like they used to. Working out might be running in place in their flat or something. So he explained to me that Adidas had to adjust to this new reality, right? And okay, so what is the new need? What has shifted? How has the pandemic redefined sport? So instead of their normal advertising, they began to do a series of personal Zoom call interviews with famous athletes. They weren't highly produced. They didn't have makeup people and lighting. They just had discussions about, with these athletes, how are you doing during the pandemic? What does it feel like when you can't do your sport the way you normally do it? How are you coping? How are you adjusting? And it resulted in these incredibly personal, emotional, inspiring interviews, unlike anything Adidas had ever done before, because they had to connect to the sports world in a new way, in a new compassionate way. They couldn't be talking about some new bottom of the shoe that gives you better traction, on a sporting field. That's irrelevant. They had to completely flip and say, what are the new customer needs now? How do we make our brand relevant in this moment? Not 2 years from now, not 5 years from now, right now. And that is what momentum is all about.
Brilliant. So tell me, what is your most recent favorite marketing campaign?
Well, I have so many that I love. One of the companies that I profile in the Marketing Rebellion book is a favorite of mine. It's a company called Glossier, and it's probably not available in India, I don't think. It's Glossier. And the reason I think this is remarkable is that it's a skincare and cosmetics company started by a blogger. So the brand identity was a person. It wasn't an advertising campaign. It wasn't a jingle. It wasn't, a polar bear or a character. The brand identity was a real person. She found her seam when people were complaining on her blog that all these big cosmetic companies talked down to them and had all these pictures of all these beautiful, glamorous women. And they said, why can't they just treat us like normal people? Why can't they treat us like friends? So she started a company to treat customers with respect. So number one, significant. The brand image of the company was a person, right? That's different. And that's very different from most traditional brands. Number two, they did no advertising. Their marketing department worked on social media, connected with people on social media, rewarded them. Every single person displaying these cosmetic products on their site are real customers that they found through social media. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of our discussion. It's not about our why. We don't really know where Glossier stands on a lot of these things. It's about the customer's why. Let's celebrate the customer. Let's listen to you. Let's solve your problems. Let's treat you like a real human being with respect. And every single person who's modeling these products on the Glossier website is a customer that they found through social media. The customer is the hero. Now, how do people know about Glossier? Because when they get their products in the mail, there's all these little things in there that makes it easy to share about Glossier on social media. So they don't do any advertising. The customer is the marketer because, hey, we don't believe ads anyway, but we do believe each other. We believe our friends. We believe our neighbors. And so if we can get our friends and neighbors to talk about our products, we're going to believe that. That's going to be more powerful, more effective than any advertisement we could ever take out, right? 2/3 of our marketing today is occurring without us. To be successful in marketing today, it means how do we earn our way into that 2/3, which is people talking about us in real life, on social media, in reviews, testimonies, user-generated content, influencers. That's all occurring without us. How do we earn our way into those conversations? That's what marketing is all about today. And that's what the best companies are doing today, including someone like Glossier.
Wow, superb. So tell me, in your view, what is the future of marketing and how do you suggest companies should keep up with it?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of the important parts around the future of marketing. I think this idea that 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us is profound in two ways and relevant to the future of marketing. Number one, as I said, I think, for many marketers, this is like a very stunning idea that 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us. But then when you think about it, think about your own life, how you learn about things and how things get sold to you. If it's recommendations from friends, or you're going to buy you're going to buy something, maybe a new television, and what are you going to do? You're going to look at reviews. What do people say about this? I'm not looking at ads. I'm looking at reviews. I'm talking to my friends. If I have a friend who's an expert on electronics and televisions, and they say, buy this model, I'm going to buy that model because I trust them. I don't trust ads. So it's significant because, number one, this is how the world works today. It's also significant because I could make an argument that, yes, 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us today. By 2030, that might be 90%. I think it will be 90%. So we don't have a choice. We have to approach the future of marketing as this inevitable march that the ways we used to think about marketing, like PR and ads, it's not going to work. It's going to work to a lesser and lesser degree. And we have to embrace these new ideas of connecting to new people that are more respectful and more honest.
So who do you look up to in your industry?
Well, there's some amazing thought leaders out there. Some of the people I love very much, one would be probably the most famous person I look up to is Martin Lindstrom. Martin is a very well-known author, and I love his approach to marketing. He wrote a famous book called Small Data that I highly recommend. Another person that's had a big impact on me is no longer living, but perhaps one of the most famous management and marketing authors in history. It's a fellow named Peter Drucker. I was lucky enough that he was my teacher for 3 years. And even some of the books he wrote in like the 80s, there's a book called Entrepreneurship and Innovation. It basically predicted the creator economy that we have today and provides a framework of how to institutionalize innovation in every company. It's essential reading. He continues to have a big impact on me. And then beyond that, there's a lot of professionals out there who I count on, who aren't necessarily famous. They aren't really authors, but they're sort of my board of directors that I bounce ideas off of. That's where I get a lot of inspiration.
I have to ask you, what are your favorite business and marketing books?
Oh, let's see. Well, I mentioned Small Data. I also liked, there's a very important book that came out last year called The Context Revolution by Matthew Sweezy. Matthew is a futurist at Salesforce.com, and his job is to look at the future. It's a very deep book. You got to read it slowly, but it's the only marketing book probably in the last 10 years that after I read it, I started reading it over again. Because it's that good. I like the book. It's an older book called Nudge that talks about how there's a lot of overlooked sort of psychological principles that are simple to apply to marketing. That's a very interesting book. So those are a couple off the top of my head.
So tell me, what skills and tools do you recommend every marketer must learn to step up their marketing game?
Well, I think that's shifted somewhat. I think, if you'd asked me a year ago or 2 years ago, I guess I would say some sort of analytical abilities. I think that's a big, big gap in marketing today, that marketers say, or, are coming in saying, oh, I love Snapchat or I love TikTok, so I'm going to be a marketer. A marketer is really about data. It's about, like I said, finding those ways to maneuver. And that takes, some analysis. So I think those marketers that have the ability, you don't have to be a statistician, but you have to know enough about data and analysis to at least be able to ask the right questions. I think that's very important. At least on an entry level, I think being able to communicate effectively and create content is very, very important. For me, even at a senior level in marketing today, at the ability to be able to write, to do a podcast, still benefits me even, at a senior level. And I think the thing that has changed the most is we're at a point right now, Nishant, that we have to be very humble. The pandemic wasn't just a change or a shift. It was a reset. I won't look at any data that was collected before March of 2020. It's irrelevant. March of 2020 was the new starting point for every graph, every single graph, every single piece of research, because the pandemic is changing businesses, business models, needs, customers in millions of obvious and non-obvious ways. And it's going to take us really a generation to figure out everything that's happened through this pandemic. So this is a time to reconnect with our customers, to be humble, to have empathy. Even though in some places in the world, things are starting to get a little bit better, people are still grieving. They're still suffering. in ways that might not be obvious. And they may act in ways that are, maybe confusing. Here's just one small data point to explain what I mean. In America, before the pandemic, 20% of Americans said they had chronic sleeping problems. Today, it's 60%. Now, how does and I bet it's the same way in India. I bet it's just not an America thing, because people are stressed, they're concerned. Maybe they've had people in their family die. Maybe they've had caregivers die, coworkers, right? Maybe they have to work different ways in different places, different hours. Maybe they're trying to work and educate their children at home at the same time. Maybe, they can't go where they want to go, or eat where they want to eat, or listen to music, or whatever. So people are stressed out. Now, what does that mean when 60% of our customers are sleep deprived and irritable? And if this keeps going on, it's going to show up with long-term health problems like heart disease. What does it mean when 60% of our, not just our customers, 60% of our employees are stressed out and irritable? That's just one little thing, Nishant. That's just one. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of changes going on with our customers and our customer communities. We don't know all of them. Some of them we might know. We might obviously know they're buying in different ways. They're working in different ways. Those are the ones that are easy to see. But the ones that aren't easy to see are going to result in dramatic changes in consumer behaviors. And that's why the number one soft skill going forward has to be empathy. It has to be patience and listening and understanding, because everything is changing.
That was absolutely brilliant. Thanks a lot for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you, Mark.
Well, it's an honor to be here. And again, I'm so delighted to connect with all my dear, dear friends in India, some of my best friends in the world, and some of my best content fans are there. So thank you for supporting me. Thank you for listening to my show here with Nishant. And Nishant, thank you so much for being so well prepared and doing such an excellent interview.
If you found this interesting, you must check out his books. You'll find the link in the description. To get more such great insights from the world of business, branding, and marketing, subscribe to What Market Wants, share this with someone you want to help, and let me help you unlock your market potential. Cheers.